Good morning. We're lighting up your Friday. Actually, good afternoon. Sorry. We're lighting up your Friday with the 5 stars of strengthening families, continuing with our 4-part series on knowledge of parenting skills. And Penny is going to do a recap from last week, and then we're going to introduce a new question. Go ahead, Penny.
Thanks, Kim. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us again on another sunny Friday afternoon. Last week, we talked about the changes that your teen or emerging adult is going through, both physical and emotional changes. That it's a big time of growth, both in their bodies and in their brains, and lots of hormones and lots of emotions, and it's a bit of a roller coaster. And we asked you to remember that it's a roller coaster for you as well as them, and to remember to treat yourself with kindness, as well as your teen. And our challenge was we invited you to do a little bit of research, look at some of the websites, Alberta Health Services, some of the school curriculum that's available on puberty, and so that you were better informed about what exactly was going on in their bodies and their brains. Because sometimes when we understand the processes, we are able to be a little more compassionate about those big feelings and abrupt changes, because that's one of the things about this period is things are very there's big shifts all the time, right? And that can be really hard for people to manage. So yeah, hopefully you found some good information and had some time to figure out for yourself, so you know what's going on, so you can help your teen navigate those difficult times. And today we are going to talk about parenting styles. So the question, Kim, is what do you do the same and what do you do differently from what your parents did when you were a teen?
Penny, when that question comes up, the first thing that comes to mind for me is Barbara Coloroso. I don't know if you've heard of her or not, but I think we've talked about her actually in other sessions that we've done. Makes me think of the different parenting styles, because I feel like my parents had very different parenting styles. And my mom was very Barbara Coloroso would have called it sort of brick wall, this way, kind of, this is the way it has to be done. And my dad was sort of more on, I want to say more on the other end of the spectrum, which would be more of what she calls the jellyfish. But there was some flexibility in what my dad would do as well. So there's kind of the three of those there: brick wall, jellyfish, and the backbone, which are the three that parenting styles that Barbara Coloroso talks about. I think I picked up, it's hard to say, because I feel like I was sort of like to do the backbone, but then would just totally lose it and go straight to jellyfish. Okay, fine then. Do it. Go ahead. All right. So it's like I had this sort of pendulum swing. This is going to be this way, this way, this way. Okay, fine. Go ahead. You can, oh yeah, I guess you can have it that way. So for me, I think I had to kind of find that sort of happy medium, which is the flexible backbone parenting. And I think and the good news, I think, is that I was those extremes, but now I've learned to be to sit right more in the middle. Sometimes when emotions are running high and I'm stressed, I find that I go back to my default. That's what I call it, my default. So I'll find myself popping back into the backbone, or the strict this way, it's got to be this way. But then I catch myself, because I realize, oh, that doesn't feel so good anymore. And you know what? It didn't feel good then either. And that's the other thing I wanted to talk about, is intuition, because I think when we parent from a place of intuition, what feels right at the end of the day, I think we actually have it within us. I remember being a new parent before computers and internet. I would gather parenting magazines and read through them constantly, and, gathering up all this information and knowledge, which isn't a bad thing. It absolutely isn't. But there has to be a balance with that too, and a knowing that we actually have it within ourselves. If we actually feel this feels right, or this doesn't feel right, that feels wrong, and start to learn that we actually have this, and actually builds confidence within ourselves that we actually can do this. So to answer the question, my default, definitely, I'm going to say my mom. Definitely, that's my default. When I get stressed or upset or angry, that's the first thing that I go to, is kind of okay, it's got to be this way. It's the whole control thing. Let's just do it this way, and then everything will be fine, and then I can go back to normal. So that's the answer. Does that answer the question? I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what I'm hearing you say is that you found an awareness of your parenting style, and you made a conscious choice to intentionally parent instead of reactive parenting. So
Yes.
Through knowledge and whatnot. And you said something beautiful there about intuition that I really loved, because on the one hand, we want parents and caregivers to be knowledgeable about what's going on. So the reading of the stuff, and yeah, what rings for me in that intuition thing is that we all know how to be a decent human being to other human beings.
Yes.
And when we look at our children as human beings, we can follow that intuition.
Yes.
My thinking is, when we start thinking about children as different from us, as belonging to us, as not good enough the way they are, we need to mold them and shape them. And that's when we lose that sort of human instinct to be decent to other human beings.
Yes.
And it happens to everybody.
Can I add one thing in there? Sorry. When we also parent from a place of fear, when we're worried that they're not going to have friends, or they're not going to be a kind person, or that they're not going to have our morals, we will begin to parent from fear. And then that's when we really begin to try to shape and mold and teach. And we sort of go against our own intuitive feelings of, like you say, treating another person, another human being, with that decency and respect and trust that the process does work. So if we're worried about our children in any way, shape, or form, chances are we're stepping into that parenting from fear rather than from intuition.
And it's a tricky balance for parents, right? Because I think about my mom. I was raised in a single parent family, and she had so much on her plate. Yes. She didn't have time to research or think about whether or not she was doing a good job. She was just busy meeting our basic needs of food and shelter, and keeping her own self together during a really rough time. So one place I wanted to go was, I have benefits my mother never had. So I parent differently because I have access to all of that information. So, that's Maya Angelou, right? When you know better, you do better. So, and as a parent with the intuition thing, it's like, there's that tricky balance between, yes, you are influencing and helping this tiny human grow. And yes, there are things they need to learn from you. To be able to tap into that instinctual part, you have to be able to quiet down the rest of the things. Like you said, worrying about what other people think, and worrying about, are they going to get hurt? And worrying about, things we talked about before a couple of weeks ago, how do they look to the world? They're representing our family, so this is by no means an easy thing. But I'm digressing.
I want to add that the gaining the knowledge is a very, very important piece. but it can't be, and absolutely, and I've gained tons of knowledge, and you know, I'm in search of it still, always learning, but it can't be at the cost of your own intuition. That's I guess my point that I want to make.
And you know
It's
what?
very,
You'll know. You'll try something on and
yes,
you'll be like, that doesn't really fit for me. Even though
yes,
this expert, and there's no shortage of
that's
those
right,
these days, but you're the expert, right?
that's right,
You try it on and you say, that doesn't really sit with me. Something
yes,
about that bothers me. Like you said, if at the end of the night you're going to bed and you're feeling that feeling of, oh, this wasn't my best day today, right? Instead of beating yourself up about it, just be kind and start thinking about what's not working and why you think it's not working.
that's right.
But I also wanted to talk about some of the things I do the same as my mother did, because
Yes,
I've had
yes,
some beautiful, you know, I teach my kids about how to take care of themselves, how to cook, how to clean, how to do laundry. You know, we have values that she passed on that, you know, I think are important.
yes,
So, and that number one thing of I'm in your corner no matter what.
yes,
You know, I think there's lots of good that can come. So, which kind of brings us to our challenge today, which is figuring out your parenting style, awareness, that key of how do I parent? You know, we want to be parenting intentionally as opposed to reactively or default, like you put it,
yeah,
right? And so just taking some time to not beat yourself up, not call yourself a bad parent, but to think about what sits with your intuition that you're doing well and what sort of rubs that a little bit the wrong way. And, you know, just noticing, does that feel good? Or, and combining that with what you know, about what's going on with your teens from your research last week, you can start trying on some things, maybe if you're up for that, right?
And can I add one little thing too?
Mhm.
I love that you found the positive, because I went to the negative. There's tons of positives, and so if you can find one positive thing that you're doing the same that you got from your parents, maybe that's something that is changes the way you look at things as well. So one little positive thing that you're doing that is a positive attribute that you feel you've gotten from the way you were parented.
And list your own positives too, because one thing I wanted to mention when you were talking about the three styles is that we're all over that spectrum all the time. No
Yes.
parent is always the backbone.
Yes.
Right? Or always the brick wall, or always the jellyfish. We all have moments of those different components, right? Our goal is to strive for that structural flexibility of the backbone, that we're all human and we're all in this together. And there's lots of times when it's like, no, this is going to be like this. Or there's times
That's right.
where it's like, you know what?
Just
eat all the ice cream. I don't care.
Yeah, I will buy it for you.
Yeah. So again, self-compassion.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in summary, we talked about parenting styles. Where you are on the spectrum? Where would you like to be? Gaining knowledge about what's going on to help you, and learning to listen to that voice inside of you that tells you, that guides you in
That's right.
Being the best person you can be.
Yeah.
All right.
Perfect.
So we will see you next week for the 4th and final installment in the Knowledge of Parenting and Child Development series.
Awesome.
Thanks for sharing your Friday. Have a good weekend.
See you guys.